What's up, everybody? We got a big show for you today. We got Drake hitting us up with what he did at the Fan Expo. We have a few trailers, including the new Agatha All Along. Ooh. And we have a bunch of reviews. We kind of skipped last week's one with like the reviews, so we're going to like double up on some stuff. Two Acolytes, two House of Dragons, two The Boys, whole season 3 of The Bear, and A Quiet Place Day 1. Non-spoilers. Tune in.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.
Aloha and welcome to the Joystick Show, a weekly podcast where three friends from Hawaii talk story about the things from pop culture that are bringing us joy. Shakas and mahalos for checking us out. If can, please subscribe on any and every podcast platform, including YouTube, and please add a 5-star review. It's greatly appreciated and helps us out so much. Thank you so much. I'm your co-host Drake. That's Scott.
How's it?
And that's Thomas.
What up, what up?
And we are in episode 156. 56.
Yes. I love it.
Yep.
I wrote it everywhere this time so that
Yep.
you would just know it. And it still sounded like a question.
Yep.
It's unbelievable we've come this far.
Yeah.
With a positive spin. Yeah, we got brief news. If you haven't checked it out yet, check out our interview with AJ LoCascio, who voiced Gambit, and so many other amazing characters. Really fantastic interview, and AJ is like a true gem. Such a cool guy. So check that out in episode 155. But if you haven't and you're not following us on social media, Drake absolutely crushed it this weekend at his local convention. He went to Denver's Fan Expo. Drake, let's talk about Fan Expo. How was it?
Ooh, man. Fan Expo was fantastic. Shout out to Geek Freaks for helping us out with the press pass. That gave me all access to all areas everywhere. And so it was from July 4th all the way to Sunday. And I went on July 4th to do a little bit of B-roll. So I got in there. I mapped out the place, saw what I wanted to see. Took some nice shots of beautiful art, how crowded it was on that day. And then going back on Saturday, we were able to go and see our friend who's been on the podcast, Lance Lieber. We viewed a few panels together. We went to go see Jason Lee and Ethan Plumley. We also went to go watch Rosario Dawson later in the evening.
Yeah,
we
for those people who don't know, Jason Lee is from what?
My name is Earl.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And Ethan is also from that same show, also The Ranch, also Boy Meets World, I think, as well. So,
really?
yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Super
didn't know
cool, interesting panels on that day. And I was able to also get an interview with Z from Serenity Forge, which is a local Denver Broomfield video game producer. And it was fantastic to hear his story, hear a little bit more about his games. I was also able to go over 2 booths. I believe it's called Yukio Art Prints. I forget the name of it, but we will shout it out later when I have all of the credentials. They have super beautiful art, and I was able to meet Tristan over at Rubber Co. And he has beautiful rubber duck prints, and his whole idea of it, and hopefully we can get him on the podcast, is the idea of leaving rubber ducks places is like a whole culture. And his original prints are Miyazaki-like, where it's just like mushrooms and fauna and moss growing all over it. And then he also has...
Why leave them ever, like, places?
I have
Like,
no clue.
I mean, there wasn't
So
like...
we got to ask him.
yeah, okay. That's
Something we gotta ask him.
That's the reason right there, just to have him on the podcast. So now I need to know. You're like, it's a culture. It's like, what kind of culture? Litter? Like, what are we talking about?
Litter.
It's called litter culture, okay? We're growing nature around litter. And that leads us into Sunday, where I was able to take my wife, Alondra, and I were able to kind of get in there. I wanted to show her all the artwork because I thought she was going to really love it, and she did. She bought a lot of prints. She got some pins, and we were able to go into the panel for Ella Purnell and also Sean Gunn. So that was pretty cool. And then as we were walking around, we got to see, stars like Mario Lopez and Elizabeth Berkley. We saw Ray Wilson from afar, etc. We also saw Piper from what is that show? Charmed, etc.
Nice.
lots of comic book artists in terms of graphic novels. Scott Snyder, Dan Reba, tons of cosplayers, tons of voice actors for lots of animes like Bleach, etc. So it was a really fun time. It's definitely more walking than I anticipated. My back was quite sore, which means I need to do more lower back strengthening. Um, but I was able to accomplish all the things I wanted to accomplish, not only for Geek Freaks, but for the Joystick Show. And also, I was able to have fun and, meet some cool people, purchase some cool art. So if you haven't gone to Fan Expo, I expect you should because it's pretty spectacular. So do it.
You expect it.
I expect it.
I expect
that
you
you
have to.
Yes, you should. And if you're not, then, I mean, you're not American. So
Yeah. So out of all those panels, like, what did Rosario Dawson or did Jason Lee or did Sean Gunn like say anything that stood out? Because we've covered Ahsoka, we've covered
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, like we've obviously covered Fallout recently. Like, did they say anything that like stood out to you? Or like, oh, that's like pretty cool behind the scenes.
to be honest, Rosario, the thing that stood out the most was just her belovedness for the lore and respect for the IP. She watched Clone Wars, she watched Ahsoka over and over again to prepare for the role, and she really loves the character and everything it has with it. She reveres it, and I think that's very beautiful coming from an actress who's stepping into a mantle like that. With Ella Purnell, it was really interesting to see how her other projects previously were Yellow Jackets, where she was able to kind of condense that and bring that character into Fallout, but she also noted that her character in Fallout was kind of not an already established character within the game, so she had a lot more freedom and she was able to play it how she wanted to play it, and so that really showed in that respect. Sean Gunn's
smart.
panel was a little bit
On Ella
go ahead.
Purnell, also, like, I went back and watched a lot of Arcane, and I was like, oh yeah, Jinx
She
is
did
Ella
talk about
Purnell.
Arcane. Yeah.
She did? Oh, okay. So yeah, that's what I was like. I felt like she was able to bring a little bit of Jinx into Fallout, maybe. Although I haven't really seen too much of Yellow Jackets. That's why.
She made mention of that as well too, and she was very she also had a very high reverence for the Jinx character and the League of Legends lore. She understands that it's really deep. She was honored to play that character, and she wants to continue to, because we all know that essentially everything she's been in so far is getting a second season, so she really wasn't able to talk about much, but she was definitely excited to continue on those arcs. Sean Gunn really didn't talk about much. It was kind of just fans coming up and fanning, so he didn't really make mention of a lot of things. And even in the Jason Lee and in Ethan Plum Lee, they kind of everybody was just reminiscing about the things that they've been in, and they didn't really talk about projects that they are doing moving forward, just how much they would like to reprise certain roles in the things that they've done previously. So wonderful panels in general. Would have loved to see a little bit more, but they stack them, so you got to go back to back, and there's all these lines, etc. So it's definitely something you need to schedule. Got to schedule it out.
Man, if I was there and I was at the Sean Gunn panel, I would have asked him, with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and how it ends with this new team and that Rocket is still there, is he expected to come back and still like do the motion cap for that role and everything? I would have liked to hear a little bit more from him, I guess, on the Guardians of the Galaxy situation, because it's so, I feel like, still up in the air if like what Marvel's going to do with the remaining team.
Yeah, the only thing he did mention is that Weasel will be in Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
Nice.
Coming out
So-
this year, December.
Coming out this year. So
Yeah.
Hopping over to the brothers studio, I guess. Flipping it from Marvel to DC, so that's
yeah, the
pretty
guns.
cool.
The guns be doing it hard. Double fisting. Pew pew.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome, man. That's cool. I think those are the things I love. There's so many elements of conventions that are cool, right? Like you were talking about all this good art, and there's so much shit that you can buy and cool toys and whatever. But I think one thing that I've come to really love is like the behind the scenes from the actors, like them talking about their experience, or them just kind of saying, oh, well, in this scene, this is why this happened, or what they didn't tell you, or what you don't see in that scene is like, we were cracking up about something before we started to record, or started to film. So I don't know, I just like love that kind of stuff. And I think I
Yeah,
would
for
dug
sure.
those panels.
Do you have like a favorite question and or response?
Me or Drake?
Oh, actually, either of you. You guys both went to some cool cons.
Drake, I know you had a cooking question, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't stand up because a lot of it was getting over my fear of looking silly Billy. So I really had to push my ego back into my pockets in order to do some of these things, which was a growing experience for me.
Yeah.
But my initial thought was like, oh man, I want to go up there and I want to ask a question outside of the box that is both funny and poignant, because a lot of these individuals who are asking questions are essentially just like, I really loved doing this. Like, can you speak more on this? And like, it's not, antiquated, but it becomes repetitive. And so my question that I would want to go up and ask, just to kind of like break the silence, would be like, in your opinion, where is the most inconvenient place to eat a bowl of spaghetti?
There you go. What would your answer be?
My answer would be probably river rafting on a rapid.
Oh wow, yeah, you took it to a whole nother level. I was like, just in a car, in like
In a car would be tough.
yeah, in a river, yeah, that's
Yeah,
impossible.
that'd be tough. We talked about like, oh, well, what if you were on the toilet pooping? But to be honest, that's one of the most convenient places to eat because you're already sitting down, you're already pooping.
in and out, in and
Yeah,
out.
in and out.
In and
What
out,
more
yeah.
do you need?
You're right.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I was even just thinking in the car would be hard.
In the car would be hard. If you're driving, yeah, that'd be tough.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a two-hand situation. It's a two-hand meal for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking like something I'd be doing, maybe like just like from Hawaii, so, you walk into like waist deep ocean water, you're just kind of going, and then you're just like trying to eat spaghetti. That might be like
Yeah.
the more chill location, but like hard to eat spaghetti in.
Yeah, that'd be super
Hard to eat anything, really. You wouldn't really want to eat anything out there, but
Yeah, except for spam musubis, bruh.
Well, the reason why I thought about that is because imagine if we each went to a con and we asked that same question so much that it became our shtick, right? Oh, the joystick guys are gonna come up and ask us, what's the most inconvenient place to eat spaghetti, and then all of these actors would hopefully pick that up, and then they try to like one up each other. That would be super awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Question coming 2025.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one day. One day.
Now, what about you, Scott? Do you have like an open question that you would just ask for anybody? Let's say you're in an elevator and in walks Chris Hemsworth. For me, I'll say like I'm person specific. So I have to know what you're from. I have to know, like something about you, and then that's what I come up with, or I come up with something there. But would you have a go-to question?
I don't know if I have a go-to. It makes me think of like once we had one of the dudes from Whitest Kids come down to Hawaii, and like they were asking him about like sketches and whatnot, and I like hearing about like the time it went wrong and you guys like had to like figure it out or whatnot. So I was like, were there sketches that you did that were like just so dumb, and you're like, when you're doing, you're like, this is dumb, I can't believe this is like being aired, like, and he's like, oh, for sure. He's like, we had to like meet a quota, and like there were some sketches where like, dude, this is the dumbest sketch, like, and I can't believe it's gonna be on TV. And I like hearing that sort of stuff just because it kind of brings like the realism, like it's so relatable, where like no matter how put together you think you got it, they're like,
Yeah,
for
they
sure they're
figure
in
it
there
out
like,
too.
fuck, I don't know, like let's just do this.
I mean, that we see it happen on SNL probably more than we should, because they're like, we have to fill an hour plus time slot, so we're just gonna throw this sketch in. This is like whatever. They have their writers' room, but sometimes you can tell like if they just don't like how someone's writing, whatever, it doesn't get picked up. But yeah, I think that's a solid question. I don't know. Yeah, I'm very much just, I come in like a fan, I guess, at first, and then just kind of not thank them, but just say, hey, I try to be specific about what they did that I'm a fan of. And then that usually stems the conversation. But I have no go-to questions per se. Like I'm so. Yeah, you just catch me at the right moment, and I'll come up with something. I feel like.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
the
good, though.
spaghetti thing, in case I really get tongue tied at San Diego Comic Con. Yeah, the spaghetti. That's what's gonna happen.
That's why all three of us, we bring a variety.
Yeah. A variety of spaghetti.
Guaranteed, dude. No one's making the same spaghetti.
What's the most inconvenient place to peel a mango?
Oh, I see. I mean, I can't really do it ever because of the prosthetic. So
Wow.
anywhere at home, in the
I feel
kitchen.
like
Self
you
burn.
could add a peeling attachment or something.
Yeah, I could. I know, I definitely. Yeah, Drake got me a really nice peeler one time, and I felt like I was literally in the bear. It was like it's all
Yeah, no, that's a
super
good
nice
peeler, dude.
metal. That's a
Yeah,
great
dude.
peeler. All right. Well, yeah. Any other thoughts on Fan Expo this year, Drake? Yeah. Would you want to be back again? Yeah. Any other?
I think I definitely would. I know what to expect. I know kind of how to schedule things out. I know the kind of the points to hit. I think I would be a lot more deliberate with some of the photos that I'm taking and some of the interviews I'd like to receive. I think when Comic-Con does come to Denver as well too, the transition might be slightly easier as well. Just because, first time press pass, you don't really know what to expect. They kind of do let you in everywhere. Obviously there are kind of guidelines, but yeah, you kind of get free balls up in there. So I just let them
pretty sick.
dangle and then let the air graze them, and then I try my best to just put them in people's mouths. So
There you go. Yeah, Fan Expo, if you're listening, we are a family show. We're kind of not. But yeah, that's good. It's an amazing experience, and these cons are always a good time. They don't happen that often, and yeah, you killed it again. You crushed it.
I appreciate
So
it.
yeah,
Thank you
check
for
it
the
out
opportunity.
on social medias. We got all kind of coverage from that. All right, we are now into trailers, and this first one, it has Donald Glover. Everybody loves Donald Glover, but it looks like
Yep.
the setting is very much where we all grew up in Hawaii, on Oahu, and if I'm not mistaken, it looks like Koloa Ranch. So this movie is called Bando Stone. What did you guys think about this trailer? Scott.
This trailer looks pretty cool. When it first starts, it just kind of feels like he might be just the last man alive, sort of thing, and that might just be the whole movie. Like that. What's that one with Will Smith and the vampires? They end up being kind of vampires
I Am Legend?
I Am
with him
Legend.
and his dog. I Am Legend. They ended up being vampires. Yeah. If you
Zombies,
but-
right?
bro, go to the book, bro. Apparently, they're like vampires.
All right.
I mean, yeah.
Sure, I guess.
Okay, I guess.
Okay, well,
won't
just shit
disagree.
on my
Okay.
comparison here. Okay, new movie. You know that one with
Last Man on Earth?
yeah, Last Man on Earth, like that one.
Oh, okay.
Super
Yeah.
Makes more sense.
obvious
Yep.
comparison.
I'm on board now. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot the name of that one too, so it wouldn't help. Even though it's self-explanatory.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Like the last guy on the planet. Remember that one?
Hilarious, dude. Hilarious. Good. Dude.
Anyways, it feels just like that
All right.
without vampires, and and then it kind of goes into like a weird by the end of the trailer, I don't know if he's like in a Tron-ish kind of world. It seems weird, like it might not be real, First I was like it feels like he's like in Jumanji or something, you know what I mean? And even the way it
About
ends
that.
and
Yeah.
the font, it feels video gamey. So I was like, oh, what
Yeah.
is this?
Dude, you kind of just blew my mind. I was thinking maybe it was like an alien attack or something, but you're right. Maybe he's in a simulation in a game. Damn. Nice. Good pull. Yeah. Because you're right. As the lines come down and it's all Technobox-y, it
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of Ready Player One-ish.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it starts like making those I don't know what it is, like cubes are coming down like with the green lasers and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The grids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's got all kind of weird things like the rhino charging, and then, I mean, I love it too because I mean he has to put on this stuff, but he goes basically to like a 7-Eleven or like an ABC store and gets like rubber slip. I don't know if he's wearing slippers, but it's like wearing like an aloha shirt, wearing like a spam hat, like very very touristy Hawaii. I thought that was great, and then. Yeah, it like just looks like a crazy sci-fi adventure with some humor in there, which is awesome.
Right. Which I'm down for sure.
Yeah.
I think I agreed with the idea of it kind of feeling more like a video game, because like why then would it be kind of in this genre with all of these familiar video game things? Knowing Childish Gambino, Donald Glover's work, I think it's very much Atlanta-y, right? It's a kind of like a spin and a take in like a supernatural type situation. And I think if not the video game route, that essentially he is in this world, and that the accomplishment of being able to like bond or finish with the mom and the child is gonna bring up like a bigger understanding or greater relief, or just in the mind of his own artistry, because he's a singer, right? So he's visualizing how he wants to put out this art, and he's putting himself through this mental adventure in order to get him to a place where he can uplift his music and his art, is kind of my general thought. But who knows?
That's cool too, man.
That is an intricate thought process. Yeah.
He's just like meditating the whole time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just wakes up. He's like, I got it, and then it ends.
He's like, my movie will influence my music. My music will influence my movie.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
like-
really stretching it out there, but you know, that's why it's
Maybe.
for interpretation movies.
It's
you know?
fun, yeah.
Yeah.
And it might even end in that way where you got to interpret it.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I could see that happening with this movie. It definitely is giving that vibe where it could leave something open ended, and it's up to your interpretation. Because, yeah, it just has that. You're right. Like it does have maybe a little bit of an Atlanta feeling where it just feels like kind of raw and like a little choppy in the way it's edited, but that's on purpose to kind of give you this like, you know, life's not smooth type of scenario. You know, and yeah, I feel like you kind of get that. It's a little bit chaotic and a little bit, like unpolished. So I dig that, but not in a looks way, just like in a feeling kind of way. So yeah, he's a master, and like I will watch anything Donald Glover's in just to give it a shot because he's so talented. Like everything he does, it's even if I don't love it, like I know it's good. I know this is well made, and that's how he operates. So yeah, I'm excited about that, and to see how they kind of like represent Hawaii in this movie is kind of interesting too. So. Yeet. All right,
Well
this
said.
next one is we're getting back to form maybe with the MCU. We got X-Men 97 this year, and that was phenomenal. We're getting Deadpool and Wolverine in just a few short weeks, and by all accounts, that's going to be incredible too. Just the marketing around that has looked insane. And speaking of marketing for this show, they started off with Agatha, I think it was like Coven of Chaos, and Agatha Darkhold Diaries, and like they just kept switching around the name, right? And it was like we finally land on Agatha All Along, and then we finally now got our first teaser-ish trailer or just like official trailer. I don't know if this is like considered like a full trailer or not, but man, it looks pretty good, and it's definitely giving those spooky vibes, and it seems like this will be a good Halloween watch, even though it comes out in September. But it looks a lot better than I was expecting. What about you guys? What do you think about this one?
Well, I think, I mean, if we could really think about how it looked, it definitely gave me a little bit of hocus pocus.
Should I think about how it looks like the way Donald Glover thinks about how his
Definitely,
stuff looks?
definitely.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing. I
I
mean,
don't have enough time in the day to think like that.
I would say that Agatha looks pretty wicked. I mean, it's definitely charmed. I mean, a beautiful craft, definitively bewitching, if you would. It goes real witch heavy, is what I'm trying to get at. Okay.
Noise. Well done.
So much witches. It borderlines witchery, and I really think.
It left me bewitched.
Yeah, I do like Aubrey Plaza's character. I think she plays a very good witch in what I've seen, and I think it helps balance off Agatha as the main character, and a lot of these ancillary characters, I think it's gonna do really well in terms of blending the horror, but also keeping it a little bit light enough for us to be involved. As it starts off, where it's kind of more like a murder mystery, and then Agatha kind of comes back into her own. I really hope that that is kind of like more of the discovery that we're put into place, and then we're discovering more. We're unraveling a layer, because that's what it kind of feels like. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the beginning opening shots remind me of. Have you guys watched Mayor of Easttown?
Oh, with Jeremy
Kate,
Renners.
no, that's Mayor of Kingstown, I think. But
Oh.
it's with Kate Winslet.
Like rhymes.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it almost rhymes. Like
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Kingstown,
yeah.
Kingstown. I don't know. It's just like a town. It's like almost the same name. They're like, why don't we
Yeah.
just call it the same thing? We'll make it totally different.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So what are we
But-
talking about then?
Yeah, but it has Kate Winslet, and she plays a detective kind of in like the Northeast. And
Oh, okay.
you should watch it just for her accent, because to this day, Christina and me still kind of copy it. She's like, "Why don't you go home? Go home." I don't know why. That's what she sounds like. And we were like, "What is this terrible accent?" So yeah, apologize if you're from that part of the country, because I guess that is kind of how they pronounce their words. I don't know. It's just an interesting accent. So watch it for that alone.
Yeah.
But it kind of gives me that vibes, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Outsider murder mystery that was on HBO with like Ben
I still gotta
Mendelsohn and
watch
everything.
that. I heard good things.
What, dude?
I know.
If
It's
you like True Detective,
Oh, wow.
you'll love that.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
Jason Bateman had something to do with that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Jason
yeah.
He like directed it or something.
Yeah,
Or some of it.
dude, he killed it. It was so good.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I gotta
But
get on.
I think Agatha is giving some of that, like where it's a true crime mystery or murder mystery drama, and that seems like how it starts off. And then to your point, Drake, we start seeing some of those things that merge in from WandaVision, where she comes out as Gray, and we see her in like the 1960s getup, and you can tell like they're bringing in some of those elements, and she seems to have forgot who she was, because I think if we remember what happens at the end of WandaVision, Wanda basically kind of like reverts her mind, or like traps her in his mind, where she thinks that she's still in the hex and she's still that character that she was portraying, whatever her name was. And so I feel like, yeah, it's starting off in this very realistic place, and then it's become still scary, still hold the horror element, but then become more MCU-ish, if that makes sense.
Right. Yep. I think so too. There's a part in the trailer that seemed extra creepy. Like there was a part in there that was like looked like full demonic possession.
Oh yeah, I see
Like
that.
some character, and I was like, ooh, that's kind of. I'm not one to normally like The Conjuring and all those types of movies, and I was like, damn, wonder how like kids are gonna feel about that. You know,
Love it.
Scared.
they probably will though. It's the
Yeah,
next.
scared,
Kids
yeah.
watch scary shit all the time. It's probably just me fucking being a baby, but so I'm not gonna watch it. No. No, it looks good though. It looks like a fun ride. Like you said, when it announced like this Halloween, like it made it extra fun. Like, you know, I'm looking more forward to it. I don't know what to expect really,
Yeah,
but
because it'll end in. I'm guessing the show will end in October. Well, it will for sure. But because it's like it starts on the 18th of September, so then every week you get
that's
first
cool.
week of 2, so
Yeah.
it'll end in October, right? I'm guessing right before Halloween. So for
Nice.
people who want to wait for it all to
Yeah.
binge it, then yeah, it'll be there for them by Halloween or whatever. So.
but it's nice to have a show during that season to
Yeah.
like keep you in that Halloween spirit. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it'll be fun.
Yeah, agreed. I think Catherine Hahn is amazing. The rest of the
I agree
cast,
with
to
that,
your
yeah.
point, yeah, I think Aubrey Plaza will be a good emotional counter to Catherine Hahn, who can be whimsical and over the top and like, hey, and bubbly. And then Aubrey Plaza's deadpan Rio, I think, will be a nice offset. So something else, right? We get Scarlet Witch seemingly being dead in this, which is really interesting, kind of leading to maybe she really did die in Multiverse of Madness, which is what the Marvel book says. People were like, come on, you're really killing off Scarlet Witch in that weird, like there's no way that Marvel would do that. But maybe this is giving credence to that, and that when we get to Secret Wars, we see a variant of Scarlet Witch. So I don't know. There's that. part of it, but we know Scarlet Witch's magic was red. We know Agatha's magic was purple, and it's cool to see that Rio's magic seems to be green. So they're kind of like differentiating the power sets in a
Roy
way.
G.
or like
Biv.
magic. Yes, of witchery. So yeah, exactly.
The rainbow
So
of
yeah,
witchery.
it could be cool. It was way better than I was expecting it to be, and I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this, and I'm kind of on board with it. And I didn't expect WandaVision to be as good as it was. So hey, if they can bring that to this, I think it's gonna be a good show.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
agree.
you got a total of 6 thumbs up then?
Yeah, it's 5.5.
Oh wow.
Ayo.
You still have 2 thumbs.
Yeah, I mean it's half.
I mean, yeah.
It's literally half.
It's literally half.
half of that. So just like this, but that.
That's fucked up. It's like somewhat
mean-
like you're like it's half.
At least I'm saying it myself, though.
I know that's why it's better.
Yeah, that's why it's
Someone's
allowed.
like
Half.
not a full
Exactly.
thumb there. So
Yeah. 1.5.
There you go. All right, well, let's move on to some reviews because we were just talking about some scary stuff. And I watched a scary-ish movie, I guess you could say. It takes place in the Quiet Place universe, and it was A Quiet Place Day One. And I really, really liked it. I've seen middling reviews on it. Some people have ranked it. Nobody's like completely bombing it from what I saw, but it's kind of been in that 3 out of 5 star range, or like the 6 or 7 range out of 10. And I thought it was great. Like I think for me, it might have been like an 8 out of 10 or like a 4 out of 5. Like I really dug
nice.
it. Yeah, it was good. It's another for real like solid addition to this universe. Somebody, I think we mentioned this before we started recording, but it was like, yeah, John Krasinski, man, he just keeps killing it. But I'm like, he only produced it. I have to look up who the director is, but he like directed it and wrote it. But he did a solid job. To me, it felt very much like, it's been a while since I watched the Quiet Place movies like 1 and 2, but it felt very much along the line of that tone. And it was interesting, like the characters that they chose to start, the universe around.
Yeah.
Granted, Lupita Nyong'o is fantastic. Like she is such a good actress, so powerful, so captivating. I thought she was awesome in this movie, but it's interesting because it starts off with you finding out that she's basically in a hospice. So like at some point she's gonna die, and she's basically like taking this medicine to just stay alive. So for me it was like, okay, she's probably not gonna make it in the movie. You know what I mean? Like right off the bat.
Right.
And you don't really. I know if you've seen the marketing, you know that Joseph Quinn is gonna be in it. Talk about another Marvel person coming up who's gonna be playing Johnny Storm. Who also played Eddie Munson in Stranger Things in the last season. You don't get him for a while. Like he's not in like the first 45 minutes of the movie. I'm like, damn, when does Joseph Quinn come in here? And then once he's in, and he plays like a massive part of it. But it took a while for him to get in there. So
I have questions.
yeah. Scott, did you find the director by chance?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Michael Sarnowski.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like he directed. Do you guys watch the movie Pig?
Oh yeah, did it?
Oh, with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
Nicolas
he directed that.
Cage.
Yep,
Oh hell
That was
yeah,
a good
he's
movie.
good, dude. Okay, he's on a solid track record then, because I like both those movies. Yeah, what were you gonna say, Drake?
I was gonna ask. I'm looking at the running time, and it's 99 minutes, which is about an hour and a half. Do you feel like they were able to accomplish what was necessary in order to give you context of day one moving into the OG A Quiet Place? Was that enough for them to kind of for you to be like, oh, this makes sense, this is an addition, this is good?
Yes, yeah. I think they got everything they needed to get across. But it's a little. Some things are a little obvious, I will say. Like it's again well acted story, and it makes a ton of sense, and it works within this universe and at this time and everything. But it kind of hits like those typical beats of a movie like this, like of a scary movie, I guess you could say, with like drama and suspense. It very much feels like a Quiet Place movie, but again, nothing kind of really threw me off too much. Like the people who I thought were gonna die died, and the people who I thought were gonna make it kind of made it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
beautiful.
But I think it's definitely worth the watch and check it out. And yeah, I don't know if it necessarily like some movies. I'm a big fan of like seeing in theater. It's a completely different experience. But like I don't know if this movie necessarily like changed that experience because it's so quiet, truthfully. And that is one thing I was thinking the whole time, because these movies really make you think, man, if I stepped on this or if I moved this way, how much
Dead.
noise would I make? They still do a fantastic job of that, where you're like, oh shit, like was that too loud? And but then again, there's like certain things that go off that is super loud that you're like, okay, of course that's gonna alert them, and yada yada. But yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily one of those movies you got to see in theaters. So.
Does that affect your snack, like eating, like it being quiet? You know what I mean? Or are you just like, yeah, you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, do you feel like you gotta be quiet when you're like? Is
I
it
was
that
like, no, because I'm getting fat. I always would get a snack. But no, you meant like how did I eat it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I did eat it different. Like I timed my crunches of the popcorn, and the only reason I got popcorn was because I got a free one because it's like my birthday month. So like AMC gives you a free popcorn. And I was like, all right, yeah, just give me it. So that I got a popcorn. But yeah, once the movie started, I found myself like, as soon as they were going to step on something loud or like there's a part where thunder goes off, I was like crunching in between thunders. Like, and then I would stop.
Hilarious.
And then the thunder again, and then crunch again. So yes, it actually did, funny enough.
It's so funny how like movies do that. Or at least like, yeah, like certain movies. I know the first movie, that's what happened to me, and I got meeting it with like the Mochi Crunch or the Otta Day, and that's like extra. It sounds way louder than it probably is because it's like crunching in your head, but it's like these rice crackers if you don't know what they are, and they're salty and they for whatever reason go great with popcorn.
So good.
And like, but watching that movie, you're like slowly trying to crunch it.
You gotta let your
That's like
saliva soak it up.
There you go.
It's
Yeah.
all soggy.
Yeah. So
It's an impossible snack to eat quiet, though.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
really
You know
yeah,
that
it's
there's
not.
some things that just you can't eat quiet. That's one of them.
Yeah.
so Thomas, would you give it 1.5 thumbs up?
Yeah, I would. I would give
Okay.
it 1.5. thumbs up.
Sick.
I
That's like
definitely-
2.
Yeah, pretty much like 2 for me. But it is 100% worth it. And Joseph Quinn is so lovable. The one thing I will say about him is interesting. Like he's in so much lately, right? And he's doing like a killer job.
But
I think he can do it, but I still don't see Johnny Storm. If that makes sense. Like I walked away out of this movie, I'm like, man, I still don't
brutal.
see how he's John. Like, yeah, he's like a decent enough, good-looking white guy, and like he's around the age he needs to be, but like he doesn't come across as like cocky. Like I don't know. Like Eddie Munson was just so brash and wild almost. Like I still don't get how he's gonna be Johnny Storm, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I don't
does
know.
he need to be more rip? You think if he was more rip, you would be like, okay, maybe?
Well, you take like I'm taking into account the last 2 people we've had in live action. We had Chris Evans, who was like super coming off of all the scary movies, playing like these, or like was it Blue Mountain State or whatever he was in? That was like the cheesy like right, kind of handsome dude. And then you have Michael B. Jordan, and it's like those 2 guys were Johnny Storm. And then not to say Joseph Quinn isn't in that category, but I don't necessarily I wouldn't put him in like the same looks category as those guys, or like the way they carry their confidence either. Like I wouldn't put him in that category. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I don't
Yeah.
know.
It could just be we haven't seen him in something like that yet. Like we know he's a good actor, and we've seen him do like kind of really big different roles. Like already his character in Stranger Things and some of the other stuff he's been in is really different. So
Yeah.
I think from an acting standpoint, you probably could really do it. But like, I know what you mean. Like, the more I see Glenn Powell in things, the more I'm like, this guy's Johnny Storm. Like,
Oh, yeah.
recently, because he's kind of that dude who's like confident, but kind of like, especially in the latest roles, he's like,
Yeah,
doesn't
he's a
mind
little
being
jokey.
looking like he's jokey. He kind of looks dumb sometimes, but he's always like, it's
Right.
okay. Like, and it's easy to be like, oh, I see him doing this sort of stuff that fits easier in your brain. But hopefully, this
Right.
dude does a really good job and surprises us.
Yeah. The thing with Glenn Powell though is he could turn it on. You know, like in Top Gun, he definitely plays like the more like confident, like I got this, you're in my way kind of guy.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, oh, you're right. So you're right. I could see him as Johnny Storm, but also he's kind of getting up in age. I'm
Yeah.
still really holding out that he plays Cyclops.
I mean, that'd be sick too.
okay.
Like,
Yeah, because I think he could bring a little bit of charm to that role too, where people would be like, "Oh, he's not as much of a boy." Like how Chris Evans has changed people's perception of Captain America. Like I
Yeah.
feel like Glenn Powell could do that for Cyclops.
I think
in
he could
live
do
action.
a great Cyclops. Actually,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, in like a rebooted version, like hell yeah. But I mean, if we get James Marsden back in Deadpool Wolverine, I'm all for that as well.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
All right.
Quiet Place Day Run, a solid addition. I don't think they need to expand off this movie. I think they could do a bunch of different Quiet Place movies off different places in the country or the world and not follow these characters and still have it work. So, yeah, pretty great.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. They have a pretty strong universe. Like I want to
Definitely.
know more about it. Yeah.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
a video
definitely.
game would be cool or something like that. Just something we could dive
We're
in.
getting
just-
one.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that.
Are you
Yeah,
watching
that's
the
right.
show or
We're
what?
getting one.
When I'm done, I just delete.
Wipe it clean.
Yep.
Yeah, this next one, I hope that Drake, I'm sure that you probably haven't watched it, but me and Scott have, which is The Bear season 3. This show continues, and I cheated, like I said, on social media. I used this for a watch recommendation Monday, but there was so much. Before I got to finish the season, there was so many mixed reviews on it. People were like, the Bear sucks, the worst season ever. They really have dropped the ball. It's fallen off. And I could see that in certain episodes where it wasn't the best. But then there were some episodes like the Napkins episode or the finale, or for me, even episode 1, that were just tremendous. Like I was like, I don't want this to end. I just want to live in these moments that they're creating in this episode. Like I could watch an hour of this rather than just 30 minutes. And yeah, I don't know, they just do something with this show that just, blows me away. But yet I'll let you speak to it, Drake, but I can get how the stress of being in the culinary world would maybe cause some PTSD or trauma
Yeah.
from watching this show.
I mean, I've seen some clips of it, and I've seen the main character kind of be like, "This is what we're gonna do," and everybody around him is kind of asking him like, "Why? We're doing okay." And you've also seen this in the movie Burnt with Bradley Cooper.
Brad Cooper, yeah.
Yep,
He
where
gets a
we're-
cameo in a
Oh, he
weird
gets a
way.
cameo in there?
Yeah,
dude.
from Burnt in the Bear, which is weird.
Sick. That's what's up. I mean, the fact that they're blending that is awesome because it would be nice to have all of that put together. Like, so for example, if we saw John Favreau from Chef. Anyway,
That'd be cool.
that would be super cool. But in that same vein, like, as a cook, as a quote unquote chef, you want to do better. You want to make it better. So even if it's doing okay, if I just push myself a little bit more, I can probably do it better. And that doesn't stop. Even coming out of the kitchen and having been out of it for a long time, when I'm cooking things or when I'm looking at recipes or when I'm seeing things, I'm like, I could elevate that. I could do it this way, blah, 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 on top of making it as good as possible. And that it just doesn't stop. And I can relate to that in that sense where it's like, we're going to keep going. And this is where it's going to get really sticky because they're going to push. They're going to try to achieve. And whether or not they do achieve or whether they don't achieve, the journey in itself, was it worth it? To push yourself, to break these boundaries, to walk this thin line between happiness and more. And it's really hard. It's a per person type situation, and to live that life, to live in that culture, for me it was difficult. So I can see how all of it in itself makes individuals think, oh well, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? It's probably because they're not cooks. It's probably because they're not in that industry, and even if they are, they're probably just worrying about all of the stress of it all. So
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. After watching this last season, I was like, not worth it. I would never do it. I don't care if it was like you get 3 Michelin stars if you just grind it. Like, I was like, nope, wouldn't be worth it for me. It looks so stressful. It
Yeah.
looks so hard. I mean, restaurants are just a hard business in general. And then and this season starts off with them in a good place. Like they have some credibility. They had a fine dining restaurant. Like things are going smooth. And he's like, from the start. Like we're doing everything different. Every night we're changing the menu, and you're like, why are you doing this?
That's hard.
Yeah, yeah. What did you think about Scott?
Yeah, well, right from the beginning, I thought exactly that. Like, what are you doing? Maybe like change it once a week. Let's start there. Like,
Yeah, every
Carmen's
day
very
new.
he's
new
so
menu.
intense. Yeah, I
So
know
intense.
he's like takes everything to like the 11th degree. Like it's just ridiculous. But you kind of get it from his character perspective. He's just like I don't know, he's impulsive and he wants it now. And
Yeah,
I think
it's
like
the only thing he can control too.
I mean,
yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
they
In a
touch on
way.
this show like they all have a little bit of that like something in them that they kind of fear that might lead them down the path to like being like their mom. So like there's like
Huh.
touches of that in there where he's like I think part of that is like him wanting to control it and like I think his anger and his like lashing out and not talking to people and stuff is like that thing that he's constantly battling within himself. But he also wants the thing now. Like I think that impulsiveness is from his mom too, like that like but
But it also,
So I
yeah,
get
but
it.
helps drive him too, right? Like
it does it.
It helps push him to all these new heights, right?
Yeah,
As,
yeah.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
talk about later in like the last episode.
Yeah, and the thing is, like with this, I understand. Like I've heard that too. Like that this season's like, it's season 2 is better, or like whatever, But I think at this point, I'm like so all in on the characters. It's to me, they've established like a cool world
Study.
I get to like
Yeah.
see into. So like these are like to me, they're like, oh, these are like real people with real emotions, like whether you like Richie fucking yelling at Carm and vice versa, this is what they do. Like this is how they
Right.
communicate. This is them. So I like all of it. I thought it was I just really like this season. I don't know.
Yeah, let's talk about that part because I think in episode 2, again, they're yelling at each other like, "I need this, I need that," whatever, and you're like, there is that moment where I heard some people say like that went on too long. I think that's fair, but I also could see like, yeah, but they're still themselves, and even though
Right.
they've gotten better and they've made it to new levels, like they still grew up together. They still gave each other shit like that growing up. That's how they communicate with each other. And it's like, even though they've made all this progress, they're still themselves at their core. And that
Exactly.
to me feels very real.
Yeah.
And I dug that. I was like, this is annoying. I hate it. But that's kind of the point, I feel like, is that,
Yeah.
they're their own worst enemies. And you see that. And because they're their own worst enemies, it stops them from communicating with each other appropriately. It stops them. We see in their own personal lives. This whole season, Carm isn't able to call Claire. All he has to do is say, "I'm sorry, Claire. Like I was having a freak out in the freezer," and he can't do it. He looks at the phone. He can't do it. And it's just, yeah. Like that kind of stuff just feels so real in a way, and it's so powerful. And what happens with Io this season? And Chef Sydney, like she's, trying to prove herself, and they're asking her, "Do we want you to have ownership in the business?" But it's making her lose her mind and is giving her panic attacks. And she's like, "Do I want to be a part of this?" And and there's times where everybody calls her family and relies on her, and you can tell it's a family. But families can be dysfunctional and families can be rough.
Right.
And she's like, "Do I want to be attached to this family forever?" Because if she gets ownership in that thing, and God, Io this season was my standout. She was phenomenal. Second place, I want to put in like I think her name is like Liza Colon Maez, who plays Tina. That episode in Napkins was phenomenal. But like Io, damn, was she good this season? She could do it all. She was funny. She could do drama. She could do serious. She could do like everything. I just wasn't expecting her to like blossom in everything she's done. Like
Yeah.
past season 1 of The Bear.
Right.
Yeah, it's just wow. She's,
No, yeah, I agree. And the other thing she was dealing with, right, was like there are times where like, oh, you're a partner, so she's like, okay, I'm coming into this as a partner. Why don't we do this dish? She's like, I'm changing to this. Okay, and then we compare it with this. Yeah, but I think this sounds better. Okay, and then this sauce. Nah, this one.
right.
Okay, so we're doing your dish. All right, sounds good. And there was like a lot of that. So she's like, those are definitely the relatable points where you're like, fuck, like I wouldn't want to stay here if like you're seen as equal on paper, but like, are you? Like, Carmi has a vision. Granted, he has way more experience, so you get that. But she's like, but if I'm in a different space, maybe I can. Maybe I've grown as much as I can here. I can grow a little bit, like take a step out, and then maybe come back with something. But so you see everyone's perspectives. I like that they did a well. Going back to Richie and Carmi, I thought it was. I don't know. Maybe growing up in Hawaii, there's like you guys know, like families sometimes like the way they talk to each other and stuff. It's like. It can be sounding like we're arguing sometimes. And this one, like, they're definitely arguing, but I like that there's, like, comedy elements, like, in it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
no, why don't you can kindly get
Why-
fucked.
you can go-
no,
yeah.
you get fucked. No, you first, get fucked. Like, and it's just like,
yeah.
it's
That was
like,
great.
they're kind of, like, comedically jabbing each other. Even though they're angry, it's like, it could have been said worse, but it's funny.
Yeah, it comes across as funny though. You're just like, it's just ridiculous.
And, I love the cut of tension in this with the facts. I love that they
Fax and
incorporated
Joey?
the I love that they
Oh,
incorporated the other cousin more
God.
too, and like
Yeah.
you know that they were just ripping riffing improv and stuff like
Yeah.
remember what you did to me, and like I feel like that was just like make something up. And he's like, yeah, I taped you in that cardboard box and then let you out. Yeah, it's right,
Yes.
and that's why like.
Yeah, that's why I
What is-
can't be in car. That's why I'm still afraid to be in boxes.
That's why I'm so
I'm
afraid to be
just-
boxed. It's like so
oh
stupid,
my
but
God.
that was so funny. Yeah.
That was man. Faxon and Joey just okay, and they tape up all like the different chefs, and then Carm's like, yeah, I don't like that, and like before he comes in, they're like, man, he's gonna love it. I'm really proud that we did that. Yeah, we did something so good, right? Yeah, I mean, I think this is like something the nicest thing that we ever done. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
like we're the best. Bring it in, and then like, God, I love them. They were so.
Oh, and then
funny.
how's the fucking the drop in with John Cena being one of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cousins?
Oh,
That was
John
pretty funny
Cena.
too.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, he comes. He's one of the facts, and he's like, "Oh man, he's haunting you." Like that whole haunting.
haunt thing,
Was,
yeah.
The haunt was the longest haunt you had, and it's like their
Yeah,
uncle
yeah.
had like.
You mean like
crazy
someone's
haunt.
dead and coming to haunt you? It's like no,
no,
It's
it's
like
not a haunt,
it's
dude.
not like that. It's like a curse or something. You know what I mean? Like, like you can't. Well, what kept happening to Fax this whole season where he was like, yeah, and like she haunted me forever. Oh no, somebody was haunting Joey, right?
Yeah.
I forgot what he said it was or why he said it was, but they're like the guy wasn't even dead who was haunting him, right? He was just like put a
Yeah.
curse on him basically. It's funny.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what I mean. John Cena was doing a little bit of that when they were supposed to be setting the place to get photographed for the article, and John Cena comes in and he's like, "You didn't give me back my lawn." I forget what it was. He like borrowed something, like a battery or something,
Yeah, that.
and he didn't own up to it. Like, just say sorry. And he's like, "No, I'm not gonna say sorry." And then like he just be trying to concentrate. And John Cena's just like coming in his ear and just like distracting him. And he's like, "Dude, stop haunting me, dude." Like, and then it's like that considered haunt. It's just like this annoying. Like, you never know when they're gonna come and like annoy you, I guess. But it was just funny, like getting into the world of the facts. Like, then as they branch out, like their whole family's like, "Oh yeah, man, like Uncle whatever had a haunting for like years, and like for decades." And you're like, "What is up with this family?" And somehow they're all interconnected. And then of course, that is really funny. And then you go back to like what you're saying with the napkins episode with Tina. Like, I love that they were able to kind of dive into people again, like do like this flashback sort of thing. Tell us how they got to where they were now. You feel so much more for these characters. You understand like how they all get. And I don't know, for me it really, I love that. It's kind of like a behind the scenes thing, I guess. I mean, but it's purposely done, but it just adds so much to them. And it's just like I kind of want this for every character. Like I want to know about Uncle. I want to know about how Uncle knows computer. Like Computer
Right.
was interesting. He just
Yeah.
comes in and everyone's like, "Hey, what's up, Computer?" And like seeing Io
yeah,
like,
and somebody
"Okay,
was like-
Computer."
Yeah, it was like, okay, Rob, and he was like, it's computer. And then,
Yeah.
and then everybody comes in and is like, hey, what's up, computer? Like, they know that's his name. He only goes by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I love it.
It was so, that's something the show does amazingly well, and I can't think of another show that does it better. Maybe their first season of Game of Thrones, but it's like, it'll give you these side characters, and the episode will just be about them. Like, we're talking about, like, taking out the stars of the show. They're not in the episode.
Yep.
And the side character is just as interesting. Like, that story is just as interesting. It's incredible. Like, yeah, man, this is such a good show, and this season fully delivers. So,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it ends on a if spoilers, like it, maybe that's why people didn't like it too. It ends with a to be continued, which is not everyone's favorite. I remember one of my coworkers saying like, it's like all the episodes feel short and it's going by too quick, and like maybe that's why like you don't get this sort of like closure with what's going on. So that could be a reason. And there's one thing I kind of wish they did at least once throughout this season is the sorry, because they really made that a thing in season 2, and I'm like, oh, that should be something they carry on and keep doing.
Right.
So
That
I
was
thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it, but I saw somebody write that online, and then when I started thinking back, I'm like, they didn't do that. The sign language were okay, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, why didn't they do? Yeah, maybe because they both weren't okay this season, but
Could be. Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, I did think about that, and then the cliffhanger. I wasn't that bummed because I knew we were getting season 4. So I was like, this is great, but for those of you who don't know it, yeah, that would be kind of frustrating. But I thought it was a tremendous episode. The one thing I will say though is like the crappy episodes were pretty junk. Like I really didn't like the pregnancy episode or like the when she was giving birth. Like that episode just gave me kind of the ick the whole time. And granted, like I know it's a beautiful process or whatever, but like I don't have kids. I've never been in the room while someone's giving birth, but like and just how neurotic it was. Like I didn't care for that. But then again, juxtaposing it to the finale or the really slow moments that was like a prequel to Carm's story and all the amazing chefs he got to cook under, I thought it was so well done. And it was just like the best episodes are like 10s and then like the junk episodes are like 5. So I guess there was a big discrepancy for me this season.
Right. And also in the last episode it's the funeral for restaurants, which I thought was kind of cool. I guess that's like
that
a
was
thing.
cool.
Right, I didn't know that. It's like I don't know too much about like the restaurant world stuff, so I'm like, I'm assuming this is a thing. Like when a big restaurant's going out, they call it like it's a funeral dinner, and they come out, and like I'm assuming the people that they hold the shots on that we don't know are like actual chefs. Like
yeah. I don't have the names in front of me. I looked it up, but they were all like top of the line world class chefs.
Okay,
like some of the people in that room either had like 1 to 3 Michelin stars. And I was like, holy shit, that's impressive. Like the guy he studies under in the first episode, Thomas Keller, I think, or something like that. Drake knows. French Laundry. He has 3 Michelin stars. So, and I think he's the only chef in the world to have 5 at one time. So over multiple restaurants. So anyways,
right.
So look it up. Those cameos in there are incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. We got to quickly move on.
Yeah,
we're going on to the Acolyte. Less stoked about the show. Episode 5 was
moving
cool.
on.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it the last time because it's just kind of like cool.
Yeah,
cool.
let's just quickly talk about what we got in these episodes. Episode 5 was the episode I think everybody was waiting for, which was just a lightsaber battle the whole time. Were you guys able to talk about that one with Lance?
No, we did not.
What do we think quickly about episode 5?
Cool lightsaber battles. Choreography was pretty decent. It was nice to see the Sith kind of be on top again. It was kind of interesting to see Jedi just get died.
Worked.
Yeah, and then just straight mockade from this one dude who was on the good place. And
which I just realized today because my coworker told me, and I'm like, oh my god, that is that guy.
That's that dude.
Yeah,
that's Jason.
Yeah,
I don't know why I didn't recognize him, but
and in that sense, like to be honest, in IMO, like that's the only thing I really took from it is like cool lightsabers. Thank you for showing me a little bit of the quote unquote Sith, but in the greater idea of Star Wars as a whole, like I really don't know where this fits, and it's confusing. But that's me. That's one person's opinion.
Yeah. Do you think it's a Sith? Because he says like Jedi, like you would call me a Sith.
Yeah, it
people are
feels like
saying.
he's. Yeah.
I mean,
what do you think?
You could make the argument that he's the acolyte, but go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just saying it seems like he was just someone that's like, I figured out more ways to use the Force, and you keep forcing me to use it a certain way, and I'm just gonna like do whatever the fuck I want. He literally just like, it sounds like he's like, I just want like a friend out here, and like we have powers. Why don't we just fucking do whatever we want to do? Almost like not so much, but like a Magneto's like, we have these capabilities. Like, why are we letting things like box us?
Yeah, like,
Like-
these humans
Yeah.
dictate whether or not we use them when we're way more powerful than they are.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I don't know if he's a Sith or not. I got a lot of flack on Challenge Accepted for saying something about that, calling him a Sith. And they're like, you don't know he's a Sith. Well, he said he's a Sith. So
All right.
maybe it's the resurgence of the Sith going into the prequel movies. Maybe he's, I've seen some theories that seem pretty accurate to me, like him possibly being a Knights of Ren, because he's like, maybe I'm not a Sith, but I want to use, the dark side of the Force in a different way and not behold to even the Sith's rules on how to use the Force. So
Yeah,
maybe
isn't
he's the
that,
first
like-
Knights of Ren. I don't know.
But
Yeah.
I mean, even then though, that's like, you're talking about like hundreds of years into the future that he's a quote unquote Knights of Ren, right? Like so.
Well, yeah. I mean, Kylo would just be a descendant of his
Of
teachings.
this individual, right? So I mean, if you're
Yeah.
trying to justify the last 3 episodes, 7, 8, and 9, then sure. I mean, sure, make the argument that he's not a Sith, but then like name a red wielding lightsaberist that isn't a Sith.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't know. It was weird too. It was like, I guess the tone of the show and like the way everything was going, it felt like, sure, people die, but we don't see it. It felt very like lighthearted almost. And then to see like these group of Jedi, they're like, yeah, just get murdered. It felt like a group of kids going, we're gonna find what's destroying our crops, and the predators there and
Goonies
just
never
fucking
die.
like the predators just destroying these kids. Like,
Yeah.
there were some parts where I was kind of rooting for the other dude, like,
Yeah.
and it sounds really bad, but I'm like, because some of the stuff he did, like when he like broke the thing apart, was like, and I'm like, that's pretty sick.
Yeah,
like,
like 3-hole punch Jackie.
yeah, and I mean, it's not cool, like being a bad dude, but some of the stuff he was doing was just cool. I don't know,
Yeah.
especially
What,
with
he's
every.
headbutting the lightsabers with
That
the
was sick.
Cortosis helmet.
Like,
That
I don't
was
know.
cool.
It was just, yeah.
I-
I think because that's the thing we were waiting for. And we finally got cool fighting. So I automatically just started leaning towards like the cooler fighter.
Why not?
yeah.
Okay, so in this case, right? If it is about him in general, right? Why not have made it about him in the first place? Have him be the assassin moving forward. We don't see who he is up until this particular point in time. We only see him assassin doing all the things that May and Osha would have done previously, and then we get this big reveal. And at least maybe the sisters in the beginning, right? The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Maybe that could have made more sense. Maybe he's the quote unquote Sith, and maybe they're doing some things with him or like helping him become a certain thing, or you can make that person whatever you want it to be. But in terms of the story, you could have made it so much darker, so much more about the dark side, and yet huge flop.
Yeah, it's confused on the pacing. I guess it's confused on the tone. It's confused on what to do with the characters. Because you're right. Like, if he had just done everything that May and Osha had done, it probably would have been just as cool. But then, what would be the point of May and Osha? And also, like, I'm sure she's phenomenal at so many other things. I'm sure she's a phenomenal person. But the one actor or character I care the least about, or characters I care the least about, are Osha and May. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really care. I liked Yord more. Like, he was more interesting because he was like, such a Boy Scout. He was like, he's gonna follow the rules to the end. And Jackie was obviously super interesting, and Soul's been great. And what's going on with the Vernestra? But like May and Osha, now they're flip flopping. Now we see in episode 6, it's like, okay,
Sick.
I just don't really care about them. And Manny
Yeah.
Jacinto has been a beast. He's been one of the best parts. But the other thing from the beginning, it's like, why even make him a mystery if you're just gonna reveal it so obvious? So like, it's me. Like, if you're not gonna even let us figure that out, really, it just feels. I guess in a way, after he, stabs or turns Jackie into a bowling ball, I guess it's kind of a reveal, but it's so obvious because there's no other choice. It's like, who else would have been the stranger? There's no other person you put out there. Vernestra wasn't there. You never gave us anybody else that it could have come into question.
Yeah.
Like, it obviously had to be him. So there was no real point in even having a mystery and who the stranger was. Like, it's silly, but he was badass. I think he has one of the coolest helmets. His
And the fact that
lightsaber-
he's just going around blind.
yes, yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's I'm like, this guy's even cooler.
yeah.
Like he's
Exactly.
literally limiting himself.
And
Like
dominating.
and dominating.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything he's doing is just based off the Force and just like fully feeling it, you know, which was he's so cool. He's such an awesome villain, man. Just
Like
throws
remember
a
he
beast.
stabbed a dude and then pulled the other guy into the double
Yes.
stab. I was like,
That
crazy
was
cool.
sick.
Like-
I know, and it's like something you think about forever, and then we've never seen it, and you're like, yeah, of course they should do that. Or the way he uses a lightsaber throw, it's like he actually uses it well. You know, like he tries to hunt her down, and luckily Soul jumps in the way and blocks it. But in the process, he cuts down all those trees, and then catches it with the blade still on. Dangerous
Yeah.
as fuck if you think about it. You should
Yeah,
turn
no,
it
for
off.
sure.
But he just does it to show off. Like so much right about what they've done with his character, and it's just sad because this show I think ultimately is gonna fall flat. I don't know how you save it, even though we're getting the penultimate episode this week.
right. And like the other thing is like I haven't seen May wield the lightsaber really. Like the only thing I've seen her do is cut her hair with it. Like
Yeah, dude.
which is a
Sick.
weird scene. Like she's just like, you get your perfect haircut. And like I was like, what? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Just weird.
She went
And,
to
like-
the Jedi Salon.
Yeah, should I say that? But yeah, I guess like she's his apprentice, and like he's just like so good at like doing his thing, and like I'm like, is she anywhere near what he like? He needs to move on and get a new apprentice because like I don't know.
Right. Like, okay, they obviously have showed us there's something very powerful about May and Osha, right? They
Right.
must have
Maybe
a ton
when
of
they work together or
midichlorians.
something.
Right. But he keeps saying, I need an acolyte. I need an acolyte. And it's like, for what?
I know,
Like,
dude,
what
for
are you
what?
trying to do that you
Sounds like
couldn't
he's
do already?
lonely.
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
get a
You
pen
know,
pal.
because he is the only. Wait, what?
Just
Get
get a pen pal.
pal.
Like,
He's just writing to somebody.
Just go get a girlfriend. Like, you know, like you're
Yeah,
hot, dude. Like, you're buff. Go get a chick. Or dude, like, you get whatever you want.
yeah, do you, dude? You can get it.
Yeah, but it's just like, yeah. So going into the next episode, we see that they have flip-flop places, and then we see that Osha is with him now, with the stranger Chimere, and that we see that May is with Soul, and it's just like an episode again that I don't know what I'm supposed to be learning from these situations. Are they flip-flopping? Why would they flip-flop? I don't feel like I've gotten enough reason. You know, like, what is the deal? Like, Saul, just tell us what you did. Like, I just need to know on Brendar to get
know.
over it. And it's not even, I'm not watching it. Again, if we weren't reviewing it week to week and I wasn't watching it for multiple podcasts, I don't know if I would be into it. But at this point, I'm almost rage watching it just to figure out what happened that night.
Yeah, they're drawing it out for I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like just
it's not gonna be anything that to be honest, in my opinion, it's not gonna matter. Because
It's not going to save the show for me.
No,
it might
we don't-
matter in the
I
future. Like, they
mean-
could stem off of this show, I think.
Sure.
But I don't know if it's gonna matter enough for me to care.
I mean, there's the character building in general, aside from Chimere, is who cares? You could make the argument even for Soul, like awesome, cool, and then what, right? Like,
No, nobody
you
can
know.
say that's racist.
yeah, it's, exactly.
This is Asian on Asian right there, and I
Yeah, dude.
agree. Like
Like
I
it-
was so high on Soul, and now I'm like just kind of over it. I'm like,
Okay.
just tell me what the deal
Yeah.
is.
And even then, is it going to be? It's not going to save the show. It's probably not even going to be game changing. Like, okay, so it's probably something that we could have thought about, and yet it could have been probably placed way better based off of better writing, better cinematography, etc. I don't know. It's just whatever.
Yeah, I don't. The cinematography I feels good, but you're right. Like the set dressing to me feels a little, it just feels a little under budget. Like again, when we're talking about amazing shows we're watching The Bear, which obviously doesn't have as much fantastical elements, but you have The Boys, you have House of the Dragon. Like when you look at that, you're like, damn, this looks amazing. This looks like a movie, and you're like, I know Disney's got the money. why are we getting this thing that looks just generic and fake?
Yeah.
And again, and to compare Star Wars to Star Wars, I felt like we didn't quite we got better in Ahsoka, and then we got the best in Andor. Like Andor had it all. Andor had like these amazing sets with these like CGI in these like
sick.
practical settings, right? And yeah, so okay, say one good thing about Episode 6, and then we'll move on.
Interesting lightsaber whip.
That's actually that was pretty cool.
God, I don't even want. That
I said
leads me-
interesting.
I know, that-
Interesting.
That leads
not,
me to a criticism.
Yeah, criticizing.
I mean, I don't know how it's practical, but
Yeah.
it's not what I expected. I was like,
Light
wow,
bends though. It's a part of physics. Light bends.
This
so.
is my problem with this scene now.
okay,
Okay,
go for it. Yeah, okay.
I said I was gonna be positive, but this is the problem.
Sure.
We got that scene in the trailer leading up to the show. Then they didn't add anything else to that.
Nope.
Her pulling out that whip in the whole episode of 6. And then she goes to the planet they just left, and then it's like, yep, everybody's dead. They left. Why?
Well, that was what you're saying is that's what was the good part because we didn't have to see any
That was
more.
almost a trap question, Tom. You
Yes.
just,
No,
you just
no,
you're like,
I'm
name
sorry. I'm
one
not
good
trying
thing,
to-
and then he
I'm-
did. You're like, that was
I'm
the only
not
good thing they showed.
No. I'm not trying to shit on Drake's good thing because I do think that was a good thing. But I was also thinking, where else is she going to use this anywhere else? Like there's those moths all around the planet. She killed one of them. Like at least show her going nuts, killing a bunch of them to make it worthwhile. But
I
we
mean,
got one.
She probably uses it at home for cutting her grass.
Just like this freaking. Yeah, maybe it's just like a weed whacker.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
I guess-
Yeah.
The other thing, maybe the other thing, I think in episode 6 is when he tells her to try on the helmet, right? And he's like, it blocks
Right.
off all your senses. I thought that was cool.
That
Just
was
because
cool.
that's when I found out that I'm like, this motherfucker's just blind in that thing. Like that was pretty sick.
Yeah.
And just the whole him pitching his side, being nice, all that stuff. I mean, granted, like evil people are gonna do what they gotta do to like bring you in. But I'm like, this is the best part of the show so far. Like I'm digging this
right.
this scene and more of him. I want to find out more about him, why he's the way he is,
Yeah.
why he thinks the way he is. He obviously thinks he's not just like just want to be a bad dude, you know. Like he obviously
Right.
thinks what he's doing is right to an extent. So
Yeah.
I kind of like
Or-
they
or
showed me
he's-
everything else. I want to see more of him now.
Yeah, or I mean, he's seen why the Jedi don't work. I mean, he's seen the other side, and he's like, "Well, it's not this. It's definitely not this. It has to be something else, right?" And
Right.
he even says, "Like, I was a Jedi a long time ago." Yeah, I think the theories are still out if it's Plagueis or Tenebris or something like that. But I don't know. But you're right. I think he is the coolest character, and I think the helmet and them showing Cortosis, which was a Legends idea, and bringing that into live action is really, really freaking cool.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
the helmet looks kind of creepy with the teeth.
Sick. Yeah,
like
yeah.
so
with
he
that
kind of
cable,
already
kinda like
looks like creepy,
Yeah.
and then he's like super strong. He's like Slender Man out there with the Force or something. It's creepy.
Yeah.
The one other thing though, I think it was episode 4, not even one we're talking about, but missed opportunity with a Wookiee Jedi. Like
Duh.
I really thought, come on, Disney.
He doesn't
Like
do anything.
you had to just
Nothing.
show us one scene with him doing something cool. Like
He pulled
He
in
died.
a gun for the Force, snaps the gun, and then the next episode we see him, he's dead.
Yeah.
he's just dead in a chair, turns around. I'm like, oh great. Like
I know. Just yeah, those are just big whiffs. Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, we're getting the penultimate episode, and I'm really curious to see if they can salvage something of this. Like, if it's better than Secret Invasion, it might be a win. But I don't
bet
know.
not.
I don't
I bet
have.
not.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't have really high hopes.
Real quick.
Bearish.
If you like the show, that's cool.
Good for you.
We're not attacking you. Like this is just our opinion. And I so want to like all the characters. Certain ones I do like more than others. But if
Right.
you're loving the show so far, that's awesome. You know?
Yeah, if you think we're completely wrong, send us an email at joystick.show.com and we'll read it. We'll read it on next week's episode.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
Bring it up. I'm happy to hear it. All right, let's move on to House of the Dragon, episode 3 and 4. And this show is just phenomenal. Were you guys able to watch this last Sunday's episode?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Drake wasn't, but
Bro.
Drake
Oh
watched
my
recaps.
God.
Drake watched recaps. Just
Okay, okay, okay.
relax.
Wow, dude. Yeah, I don't know how you do that, but man, this was phenomenal. 10 out of
Yeah.
10. This episode was so good.
And we could see it all. It wasn't too dark.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Like that one
Just
episode
to
we
call
all
back
wanted to see.
to the finale of Game of Thrones, 4 years ago. 5
Yeah.
years ago. We'll never forget. Yeah, this was so good. But I think this is the thing that I was talking to Frank about. And it's like, this show is one of those things where it's like the opposite of the Star Wars situation. Because like in Star Wars, we're like, get to the lightsaber fights. Like this, I know they're going to be dragon fights. And yet I almost didn't even care in this episode, at least in this latest one. I was so just into the story, whether what was going on with Damon, like he's in a haunted castle, like a really haunted castle, not in like a Chicago the Bear type of haunt. And then like there's things going on with Rhaenyra telling them like I went there, or Rhaenys and her seeing her like her I guess bastard son or Corlys's bastard son. Like everything is just so damn cool in this show. And then when you get to the dragon battles, it just makes it a million times better. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what happened in episode 4, but yeah, take it away.
Full frontal male nudity.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, there was.
Yep.
There you
With
go.
Aemon.
You're welcome.
Yeah, getting
That's
embarrassed
right.
in front of his brother. That's right.
And he's like, I don't even care. Have her. It's fine.
Yeah. With the chin. Did you see his chin? Guy's got a big chin.
Yeah.
But like,
a
he's
real
such a good
chin.
actor.
Yeah, the correct eye. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
He is really
What
good.
else? I guess it was like the repercussions from Blood and Cheese, right? Wasn't that what it was? I'll look it up. But yeah, take it away.
Yeah,
I'll let
it
you
was,
guys remember.
I
Either
think
one of the
Damon
episodes.
coming to that castle, right, to begin with.
That's
that's
right.
when those,
yeah. He goes to Harrenhal.
And they're just like, yeah, all right.
They're
Yeah,
like, fine.
yeah.
Like
Seems
nobody
like
wants
you're
it.
gonna take over. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
they're just very like, and he's like, all right, what's the catch? They're like, no catch. We're just out of money.
Yeah.
Leaks. You see that?
Yeah.
Water
Fire
everywhere.
doesn't really stay on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
It's just like him and his 2 sons, just whatever the fuck.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, and then him starting to get those like weird nightmare things with like the that lady who's like maybe a witch of some sort.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's like tripping, like if they're feeding him something like in his food. I know they mentioned like we wouldn't poison you, but I don't know, something like that, or it's in his water or whatnot. Or she just like, we've seen it in the Game of Thrones, like they don't necessarily have to have you consume something. Like, that lady was, what was her name? The one that just like would do magical shit. She like
I remember like the lady.
she like gave
in
birth to a
red.
demon or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's something like that. But I thought it was really cool.
Lysandra or something.
Yeah. But yeah, the things I remember most is like all the Damon stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. What about you, Drake?
I mean, because I haven't been consistent, it's really hard for me to like story situation, but just in terms of how things are being revealed and laid out, if you just compare it to other things we've been watching, just intricate, right? Not only the dialogue, not only the visuals, but each step of the way you're seeing something that's going to take place and going to come into play further along down the line. And it's really interesting to see how, when writing is good, when the thought process is there, when you have a general idea of what you're doing, like how it can be good. Even if I'm watching just the one-off and I know a little bit about it, I'm immersed in it and I care about it. And I mean, you can't really say that about many other things. And so House of Dragon, if you're not watching it, that's something that you can kind of hang your hat on. You're going to be watching something that's going to be entertaining, that is going to be enthralling, and it's also going to give you a lot of great dialogue and storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well said. And I agree. I think on the good dialogue and good conversation and all that, that's where episode 3 leaves off, right? We see that Rhaenyra and Alicent are able to talk, and I guess that wasn't in the books, but it's a really cool conversation because Rhaenyra realizes that Alicent didn't understand his last words correctly. Viserys
Right.
is...
Oh, actually, that was in episode 4.
That was in episode 4?
Oh wait,
Okay,
no,
right.
4 is the latest one, right? The dragon.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry, that was episode 3. Yeah, I forgot.
That
That
was
was a
episode-
huge part of episode 3. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Because they sneak her in. She looks like a sister act kind of character.
That's what I was thinking.
dress. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
was
then-
thinking, you wanna be somebody. Wanna go somewhere? And Christine's like, shut up. So I stopped.
You're ruining Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you're ruining it.
Yeah. But yes, that happens, which I thought was great. And we actually see Alicent kind of doubt for the first time, like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I made a mistake. Like, maybe he was talking about Aegon the Conqueror, not Aegon, my son. And so, yeah, I thought that was really, really well done. And yeah, in this episode, we see the repercussions and, like, the war is out of these two ladies' hands now. It's like, it started with them. Then their sons both got attacked, or one granddaughter, one son, and now like everybody around their council is like off doing their own things. You know, like Aemond and Sir Criston Cole are like waging their own war. Aegon's not really included, and we see that in this. And it's like weird because he's such like kind of a shitbag in some of the earlier season, and yet you kind of feel bad for him in a way that he's not being included. But I think the conversation with the mom and him is like one of the best conversations in this latest episode because she like gives it to him straight, like only a mom can. You know, like there's some things your mom can say to you and you're like, damn it, you're right. You know, that anybody else would say that to you, you kind of get mad and you'd be like, wait, what? You know, you get pissed off, but your mom can just say those things. And
yeah, especially when he's like, watch yourself. And she's like, or what? Are you going to kill me? And he's like, well, what do you want me to do then? Like he goes right back to like child.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It was great. She just like had full control over that scene.
Totally. So yeah, I think it just sets up so many cool things. And yeah, we see that Alice, this witch that's at Harrenhal, is like corrupting a bunch of things. Like what's going on with Daemon? He's seeing a young Millie Alcock or young Rhaenyra, which is cool that they got to bring her back. I thought that was sick. And yeah, Matt Smith is getting to show a little bit more remorse for some of the things he's done in the previous seasons. So he's kind of becoming, I guess for me, a little bit like a Jaime Lannister, who was like this terrible person, but then starts like feeling bad, I guess, or you start becoming more sympathetic as it goes on. And and then Rhaenyra is just like holding it down, and she just knows like, all right, now we have to go to battle because they're not going to back down, so we have no choice. But yeah, I dug the hell out of this episode, and then you get to the dragon battle, and it's everything you want.
And I think like going to what you're saying earlier, like, you know, dragons are coming, but you don't necessarily like need them. It feels like I feel like I'm so involved with them. Like when they're like, we shouldn't resort to dragons. I'm like, yeah, there's got to be a way. Like, don't. Like, I'm almost like,
we're gonna die.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? You can figure it out, you know. But you also want to see dragons. So when it's happening, you're like, oh yeah, this is cool too. You just know a lot of shit's gonna go down, like it did in this episode.
Yeah. And man, all right. So we know that Rhaenys is going in place. And shout out to that actress. I think her name is like Eve Best, if I'm not mistaken. But damn, she was like the heart and soul of this episode. Her and her dragon Maelys were just, man, it was so cool. It's just like how you would, like if you had an animal, like let's say you just had a tiger that would go around and just do everything you wanted to say. Like that guy who just like hugs lions and like love them to death. Like it's like that level of trust and bond between them. And she comes in and you're like, they're screwed now. And out of the bushes, you know, you see that Vhagar and Aemon are there. And then we also know, because he's feeling left out, wearing his grandfather's armor, Aegon is coming in with Sunfire. And he's the wrench in the whole plan. He's what's going to screw up Sir Criston Cole and Aemon's plan to easily take over Rook's Rest, or Rook's, I think it's called Rook's Rest, that castle. Yeah, it's so good. We see that he goes down seemingly dead, or kind of in a literal ball of flame. And when Aemon has the opportunity to take out not just Rhaenys, and he tries to take out his brother as well, and just Dracarys, all of them. I mean, I think that's what he was trying to do, right? Like take out both of them, not just take out Rhaenys. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think the plan was going, and then he saw his brother, and he's like, that's why he's like, oh, wait, let's wait. Because I think as soon as he saw his brother, he's like, I'm going to use this opportunity to flank him and just fucking just do it. Like, he's at this point where he doesn't really, you know, he knows his brother's an idiot. His brother's obviously the one in power. They had that scene earlier where, you know, Aemon's kind of like making the moves, and they're all awkwardly going like, kind of looking at Aemon like he should be king.
Right, right.
And,
But he's also they're like talking in High Valerian or whatever, and
Yeah, and
he can say all these different things. And he's like so proficient with his High Valerian, and then on the opposite side, the king is like fumbling over his words.
Yeah, it's like really broken Valerian, and you're like, oh, like even more embarrassing. We
Yeah.
know, but it's crazy. Like the brother embarrassed him in front of everyone, and he's like, I could easily like end all this for you. It feels like, like he's just clearly have the power. The brother doesn't know what to do. So I think when he sees his brother, he's like, opportunity. Like I'm just gonna flank him, burn him. And then I think it's just one of those like, oh shoot, collateral damage, maybe, And then when his brother does go down, and you see Aemon walking over with his sword drawn, I'm pretty sure if what's his name didn't show up. What's his name? Kristen.
Yeah, Sir Kristen Cole.
Sir Kristen Cole. If he didn't show up, he probably would have just finished his brother.
Yeah.
But then because like he might be alive, right? Hinting in the next episode. Sir Kristen Cole's like, oh, is he? And he's like, oh yeah, let me just sheathe my blade real quick.
Yeah. Well, he takes that blade off of Aegon.
Oh yeah,
so it's like he
takes
didn't help him or anything.
Right? Yeah.
It was like that blade from Aegon the Conqueror or whatever. I guess it's like a really important blade or something. And he just takes the blade and he's like, yeah, he's fucked.
Yeah, he's like, oh, too bad. Dude, I was thinking, like, there's a couple things in the episode. I know it's like a fantasy-based thing, and I shouldn't think too realistic about things, but I couldn't help but think, first off, Aemon's dragon is the sneakiest fucking big-ass dragon I've ever seen in my life. He's killed
Stealth
two
mode.
things by sneak attacking, right? He's killed the cousin out of the
Clouds.
mist, and you're like, okay, well, it's everywhere. Then the second time, he's like hiding behind a castle. I was like, how did that work out? Did he like ride behind and he was like, stay down? And like, no! Like, how did he know he was going to fly? There was so many, I'm just like, when he was flying that way, I'm like, he's going to come up and like Jurassic Park him, and he did. Which is
You can
cool,
tell.
but I was like, how does he do? He's such a big dragon. He's hiding in the woods, no one knows. Like,
Right.
for such a big dragon, okay? Second thing, when, what's the auntie's name?
Rhaenys.
Rhaenys. When Rhaenys comes, like she's badass. She was definitely like one of the best parts of this episode for sure. Her coming back, knowing the she's basically gonna die. She's like, we got to see this out. Maybe I can win, whatever. But when they battle and stuff, and then like they go down, and Aemon crashes with his dragon, right?
Yeah.
Sir Kristen Cole fell off his horse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Sir Kristen Cole fell off his horse and knocked out. Okay. Aemon goes and he crashes in his dragon. The dragon like eats it, gets up, but Aemon's just like no concussion. I'm like, how is that? You fell from like hundreds of feet.
Yeah.
You're sitting on a thing. If that dragon stops, your head just keeps going. You know what I mean? Like boom, you headbutt the back of a dragon and you're still awake. I don't know how he didn't die, but it's that's just too much realism. I think. Those are the only two things I was like, he should have got fucked. Like, I don't understand.
Scott, I didn't know you study physics on your time off, man. That was
Damn.
crazy.
I mean, fuck, you try and
died.
fall with the dragon.
You follow the dragon once, you know what it's all about. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying, dude. So, if they want to hit me up next time for, physics and whatnot, dragons, they should. Okay.
Dragons.
I don't know if you thought, if hearing that out loud, do you think he would have maybe, like, been knocked out?
Well, from my memory, like Vhagar kind of catches himself like right at the last second.
If you watch, he
like flaps.
He lands, and then
Yeah.
his head goes like on the ground. Boom, 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 boom. So he fully hits the ground. But he's a big fucker. He's not gonna go down. But
He's got
the
concussion,
rider, that's what I'm thinking.
I gotta
I don't know.
rewatch that part.
But Aemon's a badass, and I'm like, I mean, granted, he has the best depth perception in the world. He's like a good fighter, and he has no depth perception. Like, none of it makes sense. So it only makes sense that he's badass and he lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than that, phenomenal episode.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're definitely teeing him up to be the counter to Daemon. It's like Daemon.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're like one letter off, but they're very much like the counter. And even when Daemon is seeing the hallucinations, he sees like himself in the eye patch, very much like Aemon. Like,
Right.
Yeah. They're setting it up. I can't wait for that battle because we know it's coming. But
Oh, for sure.
man, this was an amazing mid-season episode for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, last review for the night. We're talking The Boys.
The
And this
Boys.
show too has been, for me, been so freaking good. I love The Boys. In episode 5 is when they go to the farm and they're trying to figure out where the what do we want to call it? The virus is that's going to take out all the soups. And we get Victoria Newman back, and we also get Stan Edgar back, played by the legendary Giancarlo Esposito. And so good. I really dug that episode. A lot of great character moments in there. And and it all seems to be that this virus needs to be made, and it also needs to, the Butcher needs to get his hands on it. But that kind of fast forwards into what we see from Butcher in episode 5, episode 6. In episode 5, it ends with him cutting off Victoria Newman's husband's leg, who's also a scientist. We see why he does it and what's been going on with Butcher in episode 6. And then there's also some Illuminati shit and a sex dungeon below a party, and it's just the boys being wild. What were your guys' thoughts?
That was hilarious. I mean, already like the stand out with the flying animals was crazy. I was like, I don't know how they're gonna get out of this. This is nuts. That was fun to see. Animals with powers.
Yeah.
And then the dungeon part with Huey, the whole safe word thing, him just throwing out words. Sometimes I just say words, and he's just like tarantula. Like all that was hilarious. We got to see Tech Knight, more Tech Knight.
Yeah.
I was like kind of explaining to Christine because she didn't watch Gen V. Like, oh, he has this thing with holes, and like that's probably why he wants that Spider-Man dude, and like she's like, oh, he probably wants to do his hole in the back. I'm like, exactly,
Yep.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. It's just more of the boys. We purposely didn't watch we purposely don't watch the boys when eating now, just because we feel like there's probably gonna be something that turns
A
us
lot of
off.
stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah. But awesome episode. What do you think? Or episodes?
Yeah. Drake, were you able to watch this one?
Yeah, so I don't know. I felt it was interesting about the naming of the episode, Beware the Jabberwock. And I guess I kind of understood through like the guise of like, the cryptid, the mythological creature, the idea of what a Jabberwock is. And so I guess in that sense, I kind of struggled to see what the semblance was. I guess I would have to ponder upon it a little bit more. But the one thing that I took from the episode is like, what is the scariest animal to be injected with V? What are you going with? What's the most fearful animal that if there's V in their bloodstream, you would poop and pee your pants?
You probably think like shark, Komodo dragon, something like that's lion, like with
go with
something
something
random animals.
Centipede, praying mantis. That'd be super scary.
Dude, that's exactly
Yeah,
My
for
mind
sure.
with just like a regular ass spider. Right now we have so many spiders around our house.
Really?
I don't know why. They're just like every plant has spider webs over it. And so I've been catching them and seeing a lot of them lately. And damn, some of them are ugly and gnarly looking, and like they look weird. So man, a beat up spider, game over. Like I'd rather die by the sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe those B-52 roaches, because those
That'd be
fuckers
scary.
fly at you.
Yeah.
They just fly at you, dude.
no fear,
oh my
bro,
god,
no
they'll fly
fear.
right through your damn head. Jesus.
Well, also to Scott's point, like the boys now. I mean, I'm following the story plot like fine, but some things obviously sometimes it feels like there's like a story plot here, and then we're trying to close up story plots, and then story plots open. But the thing that's most consistent is
in a weird pacing way for you, or like
I would say like kind of like in a weird pacing way. I think when it comes from like Gen V into this, like how are we kind of sewing those things together? I don't have anything specific just because Gen V was a little bit a while ago for me, so I would have to kind of go back and think about it. But I'm more so seeing the outstanding, the what is the boys gonna surprise me with now? I think that's more of my anticipatory reaction to the boys, more so than kind of the movement of the story.
yeah.
I'm more interested
Was there
in.
anything in this episode that like you were like, whoa, didn't see that coming?
I didn't. I mean, I think Butcher taking that scientist was it wasn't surprising in ways. I think you're starting to see kind of, I don't know, what is the lack of a term, like Butcher's desperation into finalizing everything, and I think that's a huge story plot, not change, but a direction we think that it was going to go initially, and so I'm kind of, it was surprising in that, for me personally, how it's kind of coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the reveal of him, of Joe Kessler, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character being in his mind, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it goes, I'm not exactly sure quite how it's revealed, but then it goes to all the moments throughout the season where it's just been Butcher by himself. And I was like, wow. Oh, because he shouts at the mom.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
he like
yeah.
yells at the wife, and he's like, "Wait, how do you see her?" That's how. Yeah, I thought that was so well done, and I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that being an option, and I was like, "Holy shit, that was really good." Along the lines of like a Sixth Sense type of reveal for me, because yeah, it just got me. So I thought that was so good.
Yeah, shoot. So before going to the episode, you know, people have like theories and whatnot, and I guess there was a theory based in meme form that Christine saw, and like someone I guess called it out. Like they're like, oh, they think that Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character is like Brad Pitt's character in Fight Club, and they had this thing like, this is him, or and then I'm like, oh, she said that. I'm like, oh fuck, you know what? That could very well be the case because I don't ever remember him like no one responds to him, and he
Yeah.
sees the wife. So I was like, and then when it was turned. It was still cool, and I still like the way they did it. The fact that he's just like, "Shut up," and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
he's like, "Wait a minute!" Like, you know, it was still really cool. She
But you
felt
know-
instantly bad though. She's like, "Oh my god, I ruined it!" Like, and she didn't
yeah.
know. We didn't know. You know, it was just a thing you see online. You see that all the time. There's theories you stumble
Right.
across, but still really cool the way they did it. But sorry, what were you gonna say?
No. So, because I had heard that theory, but for Huey, that his mom wasn't real. So that when it turned out she was real and everybody could see her, I was like, oh, that can't be the case for Butcher. And then it was the case. I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that got me because I had heard it was for Huey, not for
I got you.
Butcher. I didn't even think about that.
Real quick though, going back to that made me remember like. It is weird. The mom pops up, right, and then Huey shows like this. Back the episode before the one we were just talking about with the animals. I believe that same episode, like, you know, the dad gets injected with Gen V towards the end of the previous one. She does it. She has like a
Yeah,
weird face on her,
compound
and I'm like, dude, is this like someone who like a Mystique coming in
Right.
pretending to be whatever? So we still haven't answered that, but that's what I thought. I was like, I think she's real, but she's like shady. I don't think that's his mom.
So something's off about her. I mean, she's already said she's worked for VOD, so there definitely is something there with her. It's a little off, but
Or it is his mom, and she's just like,
yeah.
bot. Ooh, but so good, dude. That episode with the dad was trippy though, with him getting powers. Like, that was so sad. Like,
I know. Well,
A
I'm
very
blanking on
monkey's
his real
paw.
life name.
huh?
I'm blanking on his name. The guy that was.
Oh,
in-
Simon Pegg.
Simon
yeah,
Pegg.
yeah.
God, that was so.
He did such a good
good.
job. Like,
Simon Pegg killed that episode.
oh my gosh, him like
did
being genuinely
everything.
devastated and like
And
sickened
scared
and scared
surprised and like
Oh my
lost.
he's so
Simon
good.
Pegg crushed that.
He did.
He made the whole episode for me on that one. I was like, damn, that was good. But yeah, it's so sad. And then Huey having to like let him go and then remind him, and then also like I like the way that the powers kind of reflect the way people are, you know, like because he always felt like he could be walked through. He actually did walk through everything and kind of did some stuff that people would think of. You know, when Kitty Pryde comes in the conversation, it's like, you know, they always talk about, couldn't Kitty Pryde just stick her hand in the middle of like Magneto's head and then just like unfazed and then just be like in his brains and then kill him or something, you know, like that kind of stuff. And then we see it, like he runs in and stops in the middle of that guy and then unfazes and just starts spinning in the middle of his body.
Yeah,
After
that
it
was weird because he's
explodes.
also still in the middle of a table. I think because of get real geeky about it because of My Hero Academia and the way they broke down Lemillion
Yeah.
and how he's like, I can't be in the middle of something because of, and I'm like, that makes sense. Like he has
Right,
to
right,
really
right.
time where he's not like solid in the middle of something because that damages
Yeah.
him too because his atoms are. But still, really trippy the way they did it. Very, the boys, over the top,
Yeah.
gruesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, all really good. We also see that Homelander, a couple of different things. Homelander, one, he's talking to these politicians. He's way outmatched. You know, like he's able to control the boys and the public, but these billionaires, these people like thought leaders, whatever, he is way outmatched. Sister Sage obviously gets shot, becomes dumb again or gets her lobotomy. And I love, man, it must be so fun being her. I feel like I'm gonna say this every week, but going from being like, the smartest person in the room to the dumbest person in the room, depending on the scene, it must just be so
Yeah.
fun to play. But
I was
yeah.
laughing so hard with the.
Yeah.
She's like, she just kept nodding back.
Right.
That was so funny.
I can't remember what she said. She's like, "Oh, I just want some like chocolate cake and a Symbian or whatever those things are called."
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just thought that was hilarious. But yeah, Victoria Newman stepping in there is wild. And then talk about just a show that does side characters so well. A-Train actually has to help save somebody because he's been in the contact with the boys, and we get a genuine smile out of the kid. He gets to feel what it's like to be a real hero. I thought that was awesome. The conversation between Black Noir and the Deep at the Vought headquarters, and them just not being included, I thought that was funny. Firecracker not being invited to like the big boys table, so to speak, to be able to be in the conversation, and her feeling bad, and then flip at the end where she has something that Homelander would definitely want with the squirt
That's
squirt.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why his reaction. The internet is freaking out about his reaction, and it is one of the best reactions to anything ever in that scene. Just like the look of like surprise and delight.
It's like the
Yeah.
happiest you've seen Homelander.
Yeah, it's just so good. Oh, man, he's so good, Anthony. So if Jeremy Allen White or Anthony Starr doesn't get an Emmy, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
I'll boycott the Emmys because I think they just, God, they're so good.
Christine was telling me she saw, I guess in like one of the interviews, like the milk thing wasn't even supposed to be a big thing. Like it's something they put in to be like, this is like kind of his thing, whatever. And it was like gonna be a small thing. And then as scenes went forward, he was like, what if he was drinking milk? Like what if he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like that's just kind of funny to see how it's now progressed into like a scene where he's like just breastfeeding at the end. Like, it's kind of
Right.
a huge part of his character.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that Anthony Starr was at Fan Expo. Unfortunately, that whole panel was super biz.
I'm
so
sure,
I
yeah.
missed it.
Bet.
Yeah.
Dude, you guys on top of the world right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that dude's super handsome, great Australian accent. What can you go wrong?
Good American accent too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I was thinking about that the other day because I've seen a lot of his interviews, and then I was watching this latest episode, and I'm like, damn, he does a good American accent. I'm sure if people never looked him up, they would think he's an American dude.
For sure, yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
So
That's a lie.
yeah, man. I wanna meet him, but I honestly feel like I would be intimidated to meet Anthony Starr. Like he actually feels like one of those guys like I would be nervous to meet in person.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Maybe not.
It would be interesting. I think, like most Australians, it'd be nice to. They're kind of like talkers. They're kind of like easygoing, So, I think it might be a good time. Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. I think it depends on like his presence when you enter the room and he's there to be meeting people. If he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god," like, "Yeah, of course, take a picture," like you'd be like, "Oh, sick, I'm excited." But if he's sitting there like Homelander, like in character, like that would be intimidating. If he's like, "I'm gonna be Homelander signing autographs," like which would be cool, but it would be very you can't help but feel like, "Oh fuck," like
It'd be scary.
Yeah.
kind of
I
like
mean-
a little off.
Yeah, because I mean, Homelander has those moments too where he seems like he's the nice guy. When he was schmoozing around the room and everything, you're like, oh yeah, he could turn it on. So, yeah,
That's true,
A
too.
real life Anthony Starr, I think, would be just as intimidating. But this show just does it so well. The political side of things. Yeah, I know we try to stay away from all that stuff, but how do you guys feel about the way they're depicting the world, politics, the people who run the country, all that? And then we'll close it out for the night.
I mean, par for the course. Par for the course.
Yeah, I heard somewhere say that this show is able to like do like satirical stuff that no other show can do. Where it used to be SNL, like SNL used to be the one that could like tease politics and all that stuff, but it's like not even every comedy show can do it. But strangely, like The Boys can.
Yeah, I mean, I think because you have a bigger bad in the background that's kind of looming, and there's like a bigger threat than what the socio-political situation is. I mean, even though it is a driver, but I think having that overarching nemesis helps.
Yeah, and I think they can kind of hide behind the taking everything to the most ridiculous level. Like, so even if there was some kind of like, well, that's ridiculous, like the way you said about that and like poverty or whatever, they could just be like, what the world's ridiculous. Like, don't take anything we say like
Yeah.
that's correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
We're-
kind of go over
we're
the top with
big on
everything,
that.
so they can kind of just they already built up this universe where they can almost do whatever they want in it.
Yeah.
I'm glad they are, because this show has been phenomenal. Well, yeah, thank you all so much. I think that's a great place to wrap it up for tonight. Yeah, any closing thoughts, final words, gentlemen, for episode 156?
Just keep swimming.
Yep, you've used that one before. Scott.
Never stop moving forward.
There you go. Awesome. And at home, think about what the most inconvenient place to eat spaghetti is. And as always, mahalo for sticking with us.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.